Today's podcast is brought to you by International House of Tea, the finest tea in the world, made from flowers, herbs, and other aromatics, blended just for you. No GMOs either. You know, they even make a hangover tea. Just what you need. International House of Tea will deliver anywhere in the world right to your door. So look them up on their website. That's www.internationalhouseoftea.com. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody, depending what time you're listening to this on. My name is Hubert O'Hearn, and this is Thoughts, Comments, Opinions. And I gotta tell you, for all the days for Golden Throat to have a head cold, this ain't the one. Because when I first started this show, I think the first person I contacted and said, "Hey kid, I want you to be on as a regular guest," was today's guest, Vicki Abelson. Vicki and I have known each other. We intermet 4 years ago. And I am proud to say that one of the best friends I have in the world has written what is absolutely, honestly, the best behind-the-scenes celebrity novel I have read in 40 years since Carrie Fisher's Postcards from the Edge. We'll try and keep this one safe for work. Now, we'll talk a little seriously about writing, and then we're going to have a little fun about Vicki's incredible life turned into a novel. So, even though sobriety is the theme of this novel, sit back, relax, fire up a Pontini, and listen to the words as they fly through the air. And on the line we have, from California, Vicki Abelson. Hello, Vicki.
Hello, Hubert.
So, the first question has got to be, who the fuck is Vicki Abelson?
I can't tell you how much my publisher hates that. It's driving me. We just had a huge fight like 2 minutes ago because we're arguing about which book trailer to put on Amazon because we did two cuts yesterday. He had me do a straight one, and then I insisted on the one with the who the fuck is Vicki Abelson, and he's saying on the Amazon we've got to put the straight author, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. And he doesn't want me to be to put myself down and stuff, and I keep trying to explain that that's who I am. It's what I am. It's
That
you
is
know.
totally you. That is totally you. You are pure and unadulterated and uncut. But um, okay, so
Oh, so was that a straight question? Who the fuck is Vicki Abelson? Because then I
yes,
haven't addressed
yeah,
that.
well, yeah, actually, it is because I have absolutely no idea who it is I'm talking to. I what? It's an author. Her name's Vicki Abelson. Who are you? Who are you?
Okay, so do you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Well, so who I am is a lot of things, right? I've been I've been a mom. I've been a rock and roll promoter. I've been a comedian. I've been a teacher. I've been a writer. I've been a woman. I've been an addict. I've been a lot of things. But what I am today for the first time, this is going to make me cry. I am an author. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it feels so big, Hubert, um, because I've been working on this book for 13 years. Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and My Fucking Mother. And no, it's not my mother, it's Andy's mother. Andy is my heroine, and that's
Yes.
the only thing he wasn't addicted to. Um, but yeah, so this has been so long in the making, and to have it at last coming to fruition that it is actually for sale on Amazon today. I started writing this book I didn't start writing it as a book actually. 1 month after 9/11, there was a personal crisis in my life, and I started writing a rant about it just to get it off my chest because I was in pain. And I wrote about 2 pages, and my then husband, wasband as I like to call him, now husband, said, he was a writer and a very successful one, and he said, I think you've got something here. I wasn't a writer then at all. I was a full-time mom, and I had done some writing in my stand-up days for myself, and I had done some PR writing as when I was a rock and roll promoter, but I'd never really I'd written a screenplay that was in the bottom of the drawer, but I'd never really seen something big through. And anyway, so I had about 3 pages, and he encouraged me to keep going, and it was really a day by day. And I have to say, at the beginning, it was an effort. It was a struggle, and it took me about a year, not a year. It took me about at least 6 months to write the first 50 pages, and then there was a Mercury retrograde where I hadn't saved my work, and maybe I had 100 pages at that point, and I lost over 30 pages of the manuscript that had taken me months to write,
Right.
arduously to write. And I almost spent $1,000 to try and recover it, even though I was told the odds of recovering it were slim. And then I decided to let go and to trust that I would rewrite. Somebody said great words to me. They said, if you lost it, you weren't meant to have it, and you'll rewrite them better. And thank God I listened to that advice. I heeded it, and I hope I did write them better. I think I did. And what happened after that was I heard some other words that were really wise. Something about this woman came to my writers group, and she said that she had been 2 years ago that she was arrested, and she was a toothless homeless junkie and had lost her children. And here she was, maybe it was 3 years later, and she had just come from the premiere of her first little independent feature. And I said, how the fuck did you do that? And she said 5 minutes a day. She committed to writing 5 minutes a day, and she did that every single day. And some days that 5 minutes turned into hours, and some days it was just 5 minutes and whatever. And for some reason that day I was ready to hear that advice. And
Yeah.
so starting on that day, I started writing 5 minutes a day, and I'm going to give you my day count now here. That was 3,833 days ago. And during that time, I finished this book, and I've written other articles and stuff. And it's all because I had that advice. And for me, it wasn't enough to just write 5 minutes a day. I needed to be accountable. So I have sent a
Yes.
woman from that writers group a little check-in every single day for the last 3,800 and whatever days it is, 33 days. And so now I have this women's group, Women Who Write, and we're online on Facebook as well. And so we do these 30-day writing challenges and break it into small pieces. And so this month our topic is I Can Change Blank, and everybody's encouraged to just write 5 minutes a day and check in on the page, and some people do and some people don't, but a lot of people are doing the challenges, and we're on our 33rd challenge, which means we've been doing it for almost 3 years together.
Yeah.
And doing it together makes it easier, and through this process, a whole bunch of people in the Women Who Write workshop and salon have written and completed screenplays, books, memoirs, novels, plays. It's just amazing what can be accomplished if we just break it down into small pieces. So
Well,
this isn't what you asked me. This is not who
that's
is Vicki
okay.
Abelson. But I
You're
don't know. We just went there. Sorry. Um,
Vicky. The more you ramble, the less I have to think of smart questions. It's perfectly all right. I'll go and make tea. You talk. People will listen.
oh God. Yeah,
I
you know.
I I should tell the audience, anybody who hasn't read the review I wrote, because in a way it was tricky because you and I have been friends for about 4 years. So people think, because I absolutely love Don't Jump. I mean, I truly do. I
Thank
wrote
you.
it, I said it, I believe it. It's the best behind the scenes celebrity novel since Carrie Fisher put out postcards from the edge 40 years ago, and 40 years is a fucking long time to wait. But because we're friends, people think, oh,
That's
well,
pretty
he's saying
extraordinary
that
for
it's a
one
great
reviewer.
novel because they're friends. No, it's a great novel because it's a great novel, you know. Um, I was going somewhere with this, and I haven't got a clue where. But, oh, yeah,
Wow.
actually, I do. You, yeah, we recapture our form. No, the whole 5 minute thing, is that it says, well, it's 5 minutes, but you know that in real life, when I'm not recording podcasts with fabulous writers, that I do writing coaching and editing and so forth, and I deal with writers all the time, and you know how it goes, that there's always a reason to not do it. It's
Yeah.
raining outside, my pencil needs sharpening, whatever. And I tell writers, can you write a sentence? Write a sentence. Well, yeah, I can do that. Okay, good. Write a sentence, and the rest of it will flow from there. So that 5 minutes thing that you do through Women Who Write, and we'll get into Women Who Write, it's gold. It's gold, and
You
it's
know, I
absolutely
think
worked
that's
for you.
I think that's true. You know, I started by somebody recommending Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way to me, and for me, this is a pretty cool story. Julia, unbeknownst to me, I was in my writers group one week, and we were talking about The Artist's Way, and I raised my hand and I said, yes, I do morning pages, but I don't do the way it's suggested in the book. You know, you're supposed to do it first thing in the morning. You're supposed to do it freehand, not on the computer. You're supposed to write 3 full pages. And I said, I do it my way. I do it on the computer because I can't read my own handwriting. I don't give myself a 3 page limit. I do whatever comes out. I don't always do it first thing in the morning. Sometimes I do it last thing at night. I do it whenever. I said, but it works for me. And I turn around, and the next person who raises their hand is Julia Cameron. She's sitting right behind me. And
Oh,
I've
hi
just
there.
told her that I just don't follow her directions. But she actually, she totally changed my life, between her that direction with the morning pages and the other woman with the doing it 5 minutes a day. It really, these two women have completely changed my life.
Now,
And I'm so grateful.
I read, because you sent me, and for the listeners to know how we intermet, was that I sent you a message, and it would have been about 4 years ago, because I'd read about Women Who Write, and I sent you a message and said that, by the way, on behalf of all writers in the world, thank you for the wonderful service you're doing to us all by holding your incredible book salon in your home called Women Who Write. In return for which, you sent me a novel to read. Oh, thanks a bunch. But and no, it was fabulous then. But then when you sent me the final draft, that is out on sale now at Amazon in the country where you live, do buy it. Um, and it
And
is,
by the way, it's also on sale. If I may plug for a second,
you
on the
may
random.
indeed.
Thank you. It's on the Random Content website, and the reason that I would love to direct people there is because this is from my father, who left this earthly world about 4 years ago. But my book is on the page next to Dick Van Dyke and Carl Reiner, and I am, I am, I am in awe of the placement, and
I don't doubt.
it's beyond. Hubert, if I could have dreamed my highest dream of what would happen with this book, I could not imagine this to be it. And nothing would have made my father prouder than to see that page today. And
Oh,
so
bless.
every time anybody goes over and clicks that link, my dad is felling a little bit up there today, and shedding a little tear. And so yeah, I'm really over the moon about it.
That is that is beautiful, my dear friend. Yeah, because Carl Reiner, the Carl Reiner, is your
Yeah.
publisher. Alan Brady
Well,
thinks
it's
you're fun. You're ahead of Sally Rogers. How did how did that happen? That Carl Reiner from Sid Caesar, your show of shows, and the Dick Van Dyke Show. How did Carl Reiner, the thousand-year-old man, how did he end up being your publisher?
Okay, well that's kind of, that's it, it sounds really great that way, but here's the story on that. Carl is, as we all know, is a genius, and his talent is beyond compare. Carl, by the way, has a new book that's about to come out about the Dick Van Dyke Show and behind the scenes
I
of
want it.
yeah, I mean it's going to be
You
amazing. In
tell
fact,
him, okay, kid.
it's coming out in
You owe
August,
me.
and I'm
I want.
and yeah, I mean, we're all going to want, right? Everybody has to have that book. In fact, I'm going to Twitter right now to make sure that I say the name correctly of the book because it's genius and it needs to be respected. Um, okay, wait a second. I'm going down the Twitter feed. Um, okay,
We are
it's
live
called
here,
it's
here,
okay. It's
folks.
called Why and When the Dick Van Dyke Show Was Born, and that's Carl's book. So anyway, that'll be out in a few months from Random Content. Anyway, the way this happened
Yeah.
with me and being on Random Content is Carl had had a bestseller back in the '80s. And you're laughing. Carl has won like every award there is to win. He's world renowned.
He's a
But when
god.
he came,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a god. But when it came time for him to write his memoir, when he decided to write a memoir in his late '80s, he was having trouble getting a publisher, which makes absolutely no sense at all.
Oh,
It just goes
Jesus,
to
yes.
show you how insane the world is now and how crazy publishing is now. Anyway, so there was this brilliant man, Lawrence O'Flahaven, who came along, and together with Carl, they formed Random Content. And so they published Carl's memoir, and then Carl wrote another one, and then he wrote another one, and then he wrote two children's books, and then his daughter Annie wrote two children's books. And then Dick Van Dyke had these books of his that were a New York Times bestseller that hadn't sold, that he now was selling through Random Content. And anyway, Carl had come to do Women Who Write, the salon of which you spoke a few years ago, and I met him. I had met him socially first through Phil Rosenthal and adored him, and invited him to read at Women Who Write, and he so graciously and wonderfully came before I remember me even was out, and we were the very first ones to hear him read from his book. And he had gone on a podcast sometime soon after that and said that we were one of the best audiences he'd ever performed in front of. And George Shapiro, his manager, what do you mean? You've been doing this for 70 years. What do you mean this is one of the best? He said, no,
You're
really.
pissing off people in Poughkeepsie.
No, but he's, Carl so graciously numerous times cited that Women Who Write was one of his favorite experiences. And he was certainly, if not our favorite, one of our most favorite ever guests. And we love Carl. And anyway, so I kind of pursued Larry when it was time for me to, when I was done with my book. And magic just happened, and everything just fell into place. And he said yes, and so they're publishing my book, and yeah, it's a deal, it's a done deal, and I just couldn't be more honored and more privileged to be in their company. And Larry is the one, by the way, who designed my book cover. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, if you go to Don't Jump by Vicki Abelson, Google that. The cover is extraordinary. Larry sketched it over a 4-hour lunch talking about the book. And then Aaron Davis, who is the genius on the computer, sat down with Larry, and with Larry's guidance, they put it down on the computer, and boom, what came out is it's really judge this book by the cover, because the cover says it all, and amazingly. It's
It
fantastic.
it's dazzling. It really,
Thank
it,
you.
it really, it really, really is. And kudos to you, because 99.9% of authors I talk to, well, darling, it's all about me, and they never ever mention anybody who does the typeset or the cover or any of that. So good on
Well,
you.
I'm working with geniuses. Yesterday, I had the good pleasure. Said publisher Lawrence O'Flahaven also directed. He He's a commercial director. That's his past. And he directed my book trailer yesterday, which I hope everybody will check out. It's on YouTube. And J.D. Butler shot it, and in association with Alex the Titan, Alex Henderson, and I can't believe like we did this in one day. I'm so thrilled. It's fantastic. With some input footage from Activated Pictures, from my producing partners, Jake Deptula and Annie Deptula and Olu, and I'm really blessed, Hubert, because I've been untethered for a lot of years, wearing every hat myself and having to do everything myself. And I'm surrounded by people now, this is going to make me cry again, who are brilliant and genius, and who are supporting me in ways that are oh God. And can we talk for 1 second about the subheading? Because I just
No.
feel like
of course we can, yeah.
Thank you. So the book is called Don't Jump, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and My Fucking Mother. And I want to point out that, as I said earlier, that's not about my mother, it's about Andy Stone's mother. But I just want to say how that happened, because it's one of my favorite stories associated with the book. But the book was originally titled, Why is Julia Roberts Living My Life? Right. And when I started writing it, in 2002, Julia Roberts was, America's sweetheart. She's still my sweetheart. Well, I don't know her, but I think she's adorable. But anyway, she was the #1 box office, the biggest earner woman on film ever in the history of film, and we were also born a few hours apart, give or take a couple of years, and I. Scorpio, and I felt a kinship to her. And the title made a lot of sense back then, and it still continued to make people laugh through the years when I would say it. But Larry kind of fought me on it and felt that, the Don't Jump worked better. That was my other working title, because I kept the Julia one sort of a secret for years. Anyway, he was campaigning very heavily for me to go with the Don't Jump, and everything has a reason, and everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to, and I finally sort of gave in and said, all right, we'll go with Don't Jump. But, it doesn't really represent, the humor in the book. It's kind of serious, and the original book cover didn't have the girl there and didn't have that subheading there with the girl, which I'll explain in a minute with what it looks like. But anyway,
we'll be running that on the podcast in the
slideshow,
so people will probably have seen it and will be seeing it right about now. So do carry on, darling.
Excellent. Okay, so then so on this book cover, there's it's a New York scene, and it's gray and foreboding, and Don't Jump. And Larry had the brilliant idea to put the Don't Jump in a Don't Walk traffic sign. I don't know how he came up with that. Fucking brilliant. But anyway, so. The one thing that bothered me was there wasn't humor on the cover, and there's a lot of humor in the book, and even though it does deal with a lot of very serious subjects, it deals with addictions of all kinds, and it deals, it's got a lot of serious stuff in there, but it's also, funny, and it's got, a light touch, and that just wasn't being reflected on the cover. And so Larry said, okay, well, the original subheading was going to be a fictionalized memoir, I swear to some of it, but I didn't really feel right, because I really wrote it as a novel, and I wanted it to be a novel, and that's really what it is. And even though Andy's story and her feelings and what she was thinking and feeling reflects my true thinking and feeling, I took a lot of liberties elsewhere, and I had no intention to take anybody else down. It's Andy's story. And so by writing it as a novel, I was able to, no one will ever know where the truth ends and where I made stuff up, and that's exactly how I want it to be. So it's a novel. In any case, so I wanted something to reflect the humor, and Larry said, okay, so what can we put on the cover that reflects that? Let's see, what is the book about? Well, it's sex, drugs, rock and roll. And he said, well, what's a fourth thing that would kind of take a left turn that would make it funny? And I said, well, it's sex, drugs, rock and roll, and celebrity. He goes, yeah, celebrity's not funny. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. I was sitting in my car, and it was pouring raining. I was in a Target parking lot, and we're having this conversation. And when he challenged me to go left and surprise people, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and I swear without even stopping to think, I just said, and my fucking mother. And it was dead silence, and we
Yeah.
both just sat there, and like 3 seconds later, we both just started laughing. Said, "Oh my God, can we do this? Can we really do this? And how do we put fucking in? Well, they make us use asterisks, and I don't want to block it out. And oh my God, what am I going to tell my mother? And how do we do this?" And I then called my friend Bruce Kluger, who's one of my mentors, and said, "Can we do this?" And he started Googling books with the word fuck in it, and he was like, "This is, and then he said, yeah, it exists. If you give the kid a cookie, will he shut the fuck up? And, all these other books." And we started doing the research, like how those books do and, what the impact is. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to tell my mother, and I sat on it for months. And, it was just became this whole big thing. But I just knew as soon as I said it out loud that it had to be that. It had to be that.
Um,
And it just, because it so perfectly represents kind of the irreverence of the story, of the book, I think. So, so
we
anyway, so thus the title was born.
we we should tell the audience basically what Andy's story is about, time frame and what goes on, so they have a sense when they rush off to Amazon or wherever to
Random
buy the book,
copy.
what they're buying. So what's your elevator pitch? What's Don't Jump about?
Okay, so basically the log line all these years has been Don't Jump chronicles a woman's quest to find her place and her purpose amidst sex, drugs, rock and roll, and celebrity. It's the story of unfulfilled potential, addiction, and bad behavior, but ultimately it's a story of redemption. But it's told with levity and hopefully a wicked sense of fun. So, Andy, it takes us through the 80s club scene in New York, through rock stars, it's famous comedians, there's a world famous athlete, there's a famous shock jock, through late night talk show hosts, and then and it works its way up through 9/11 and goes up until until about 2005 is where we leave her. And
Perfect.
yeah, so it's really a woman's journey through her addiction, through love addiction, through food addiction, through pot addiction, through abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, a little physical abuse, all kinds of things like that, and sort of how she navigates her way through it. And really what it's about is her trying to make her life count. Andy's just really trying to get her shit together, and she's trying to be a better person.
This is a question that, in a lot of ways, I hate, but you're going to be faced with it time after time after time because it is a roman à clé. That Don't Jump is a novelization in a lot of ways of your life, and because it's a novelization, that it's fictionalized. That it's like what Graham Greene said: you take a scene you lived and you change one detail, and it becomes fiction, etc., etc. But the question is that what's the point of departure between Andy and you, Vicky? How's she the same or different from you?
That's a really good question, Hubert. The truth
That's what
the
they pay
truth
me
of
for.
this the truth of this is, as I started to try to say, and I probably didn't do it very well. What Andy thinks and feels, um, that's all real. That's
Yeah.
all real. Every thought and every feeling is real. And where I took liberties is with other people so that I could allow them their privacy, yeah. So as I said, people aren't going to know where I took liberties, and that's exactly what I want it to be. So what they can count on is that Andy's thoughts and feelings are authentic and true, and and the rest of the story, well, I'll leave that to everybody to decide what's true and what's not,
For
where I
sure.
took liberties. Because it's not about taking anybody else down. It was just about telling my story. And ultimately, what Andy finds out, which is what Vicky found out, is that it's all about any shortcomings are hers. The problem lies with Andy, not with anybody else. nothing is personal in this life. And any time that I'm hurt or injured, it's the damage I do to myself because no one else is trying to hurt me. That's all perception. And I think everybody's here just trying to do their best. And sometimes we're more successful than others. And so Andy doesn't ultimately blame anybody else for anything that happens to her. And she knows that everything happens for a reason. And it's all to get her where she's going. And
I hear you.
that's the truth.
I hear you. You know, and let's get back to the author, that that being you. You've had your share of brickbats and disappointments,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you know, like you've been knocked down to the curb, but damn, and it's a reason I love you, kid, is that you always get back and you come back fighting. What keeps you going?
Oh boy, Hubert. I was telling this story at Women Who Write the other day, um, and I think it's important because I sometimes forget. In 2007 or eight, I think I started Women Who Write,
Yeah.
and I started it in a local mommy's house because I didn't have any furniture in my house. We were from New York, and all our stuff was still back in New York, and my then husband was working here, and the kids and I, we were all going back and forth. And finally, we came out to live with him, and we were in his place, and it didn't have any furniture. It was a big empty space with nothing in it, so I couldn't have women over to my house. I started Women Who Write to workshop. Don't jump into a book, actually. And I invited other writers to read with me to turn it into sort of a salon. And I was doing it in a local mommy's house, and at the time there were about 25 local mommies invited who came to the first couple. And on the third salon, the third month, when I was reading from my book afterwards, the woman who was hosting Women Who Write for me said, I really like the way you read that. You read it really cute and nice and stuff, but I can't imagine why anybody would want to read your book.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, she
Where's
said
her
that in front of everybody,
review
in
coming
front of
out? Yeah.
my invited guests, right? And Hubert, in
Put the
that
canapes
moment,
down. Yeah.
and I had to get through the rest of the salon. I was the first one to read, so I had to get through and bringing up the three other writers or however many there were that day, and then I had to like clean up and say goodbye to everybody and thank her for letting me use her home. And then I went home and I cried for about three. I don't know. I say I cried for 3 days, but I actually think I cried for about 3 hours. And
Oh,
I
Jesus.
thought, okay, I'm going to not do Women Who Write anymore. I'm going to put this book in the bottom of the drawer like I have everything else I've done to date. And that's it. And I was going to give up. And I was devastated. And I can't tell you what turned that around for me that day, but somehow somebody said a right word to me, or my higher power kind of found its way to me. But somewhere in there, in that day and the next day, I decided that I was going to move the thing to my house. And I asked the local church if I could borrow chairs from them. And every month, the kids and my husband and I would go and we'd schlep the chairs from the church and carry them up and down stairs. And we'd put them here and then we'd schlep them back every month. And that went on for years till the women said, let us buy our own chairs. And we finally bought chairs. But anyway, um, I was going to give up that day. And I was going to give up on the book. I was going to give up on the salon. And I came really close to making that choice. And I can only say that a power greater than myself stopped me from doing that.
Well,
And,
well, thank bloody God. Thank bloody God.
there was a purpose for Women Who Write, a greater purpose than me. And there was a greater purpose. I'm getting emotional again for this book to come out. And, I'm grateful beyond, oh gosh, thank God I didn't give up. And,
I
a lot of stuff has happened, a lot of stuff. I've had agents come and go, managers come and go, option shows come and go, men come and go, husbands come and go. I mean, things have come and gone in my life, and what we all do, we survive and we keep going, and we don't give up. We don't give
Well,
up.
and the constant is you, and it's a, a, a very, very beautiful thing. And Vicki, what I started to say earlier and got lost in my derailed train of thought is that um, when you showed me that first draft
Hmm.
4 years ago, and I really liked the book, I would have happily recommended it. And then when couple of weeks ago you sent me, for review,
Hmm.
um, what Don't Jump has become, and I congratulate you, my dear friend, and for anybody listening, dear God, this is honest. You created one hell of a great novel. I mean,
Oh, thank
your
you.
heart, your soul, and brilliant words. It's funny. It moves. You made a beautiful child, Vic.
Oh.
Well done,
I
kid.
made three beautiful children then, because
Yes,
I
you did.
certainly have two in this world. I have my Harry and Samantha. Thank you, Hubert. It means the world to birth this baby because, damn it, I didn't, 36 hours of labor with Harry, but 13 years was not what I signed on for this one.
Yeah, you went way beyond the elephants and whales with this.
Jesus Christ, man. Jeez. It's
Hey,
not supposed to
sweetheart.
take this long.
Hey,
Yes.
sweetheart. Thank you ever so much for doing thoughts, comments, and opinions. You have an absolute, because I mentioned on the intro that when I got this gig to do the podcast, you were the first person I contacted. Said, anytime you want to come on, you come on. Uh, you have a standing invitation. We won't be all serious and we won't be breaking down in tears. We'll have fun, but please, please, audience, buy Don't Jump with its naughty subtitle. You will love it. Vicky, thank you ever.
Oh, thank you so much, Hubert. Thank you so very much.
Take care,
Very
sweetheart.
appreciative. Take care.
I'm actually recording this outro, as I call it, before having talked to Vicky, so heaven only knows what kind of podcast it is you've just listened to. But thank you, my dear Vicki Abelson. For more about Vicky, do look up Vicki Abelson's Women Who Write on the internets. And please, pick up a copy of Don't Jump. You will be entertained. You will learn its behind the scenes. It is a absolutely fabulous book. If you'd like to be part of our fan club and possibly even sponsor our show, you can visit our Patreon page. That is Patreon, Patreon/thoughts, comments, opinions. So, from all of us who work the late shift in Ireland, good night, everybody, and be seeing you.